welcome to the Essential Owl. Today I'm going to be making a soap that I'm going to call Carol of the Bells because I'm very creative, obviously. It's going to be made with this fragrance oil right here. It's Christmas Spice from Brambleberry. It does say that it accelerates in cold processed soap and discolors to a brown. That is okay. I'm not going to put the fragrance oil in the entire soap just to avoid discoloring the entire thing. But we're just going to let it do its thing. I don't use vanilla stabilizer or anything like that in my soaps. And I guess I should preface this by saying that I apologize for the terrible quality of this video and the terrible angle. I'm using a teeny tiny camera tripod that came with a light box, so it's meant to be used for lower angles. But this is the first video that I'm filming. This is not meant to be a tutorial. It's more or less just for entertainment purposes, I suppose. If you are interested in making soap, especially cold process or hot process soap, I recommend that you head over to Brambleberry. They have a wonderful channel. They have a lot of blog posts that are great for beginners. There's a plethora of information out there, so I definitely recommend that you head on over to one of those channels or to one of those blogs, and don't go off of what I do. I have been doing this for a little while, and I've been reading and researching and learning how to do these things for years. So, but I still consider myself to be a novice with this. There's still a lot of stuff that I have to learn. My recipes are pretty basic. I might get a little bit crazy with colors sometimes, but you know, as far as the recipes themselves, they're pretty basic. But let's go ahead and get started. And actually, I will be right back. I need one more container. But my colors are going to be white. Let's see. I think I'm going to be using titanium dioxide, and this is a water soluble titanium dioxide. It's also going to be red. I have this really red mica from Nurture Soap. Let me open it up here so you can see. It's probably one of the reddest reds that I think I have ever seen anywhere. And then it's also going to be green. I have this green Vibrance mica, also from Nurture Soaps. But it is a little bit bright for what I'm wanting to do. So I think I'm also going to mix in a little bit of this Alpine Green, also from Nurture, just to tone down the vibrance of this green Vibrance just a little bit. And then the rest of the soap is going to be the natural soap color. Like I said, it's likely going to turn brown, according to this fragrance oil description. It has 2% vanilla in it, so I do expect it to discolor. My glasses are fogging up. It's kind of warm in here. Okay, so let's get started. And for anyone that wants to know, I tend to soap at room temperature. That's just a personal preference. Occasionally I'll get impatient and I'll soap a little bit hotter. I do tend to stay away from temps 100 degrees or higher. just because I tend to do a lot of swirls and a lot of things like that. So when you soap hotter, your soap will generally accelerate faster. It'll get thicker faster. And that's not what I want. If it gets really thick, it's harder to do intricate swirls. Yeah, good job, Erin. It's harder to do intricate swirls and things like that. But again, that's just a personal preference. I'm going to add my lye water solution to my oils. And for anybody that has never soaped before or never watched a soap making video before, lye is a chemical. It is caustic, so it will burn you, which is why I'm wearing gloves. And I'm also wearing eye protection. I have special safety goggles that have a rim around them to help keep anything that may splash out of my eyes, because that would not be a good time. But to make real soap, it has to be made with lye. If it's not made with lye, it's not real soap. And there's nothing wrong with that, but for someone to call their soap a true soap, it has to be made with lye. And we mix the lye with water to make this solution, just so that it will bind with these oils, and instead of being a clump, it'll turn into a smooth batter. And I'll probably speed this part up because this immersion blender is a little bit noisy. Okay, so I've got this about where I want it. It's at a very thin trace. I like to leave it at a thin trace most of the time, just because when you go to mix in your colors later, it's not too thick, and because it also makes pouring a lot easier, in my opinion. You don't get big glops of soap. Instead, you get a real nice stream. Gonna set this to the side for now. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna separate my colors. Actually, I'm gonna wipe out my lye container here so that I can use it. Now, I don't recommend doing this either, wiping out the lye container. I recommend that you wash it out first, but I'm a little bit pressed for time. My father-in-law is coming over for dinner, and I've been running errands all day, and it's been a busy day, so I don't really want to take the time to stop and wash out these containers first. But I'm going to separate it into these 3 containers, and then I'm going to have my big container here, which is going to be a separate color. This is likely what I will leave as the natural soap color with the fragrance oil in it. So let me go on and pour this. And I'm gonna try to keep everything fairly even. I'm just eyeballing this. I'm not the greatest at freehand pouring, so I'll probably, yeah, I didn't leave very much in this big container at all. So I'll go on, pour a little bit back in here from each of these. So again, I apologize for the terrible quality and the kind of haphazardness of this video, because like I said, this is the first video that I'm filming and I'm still learning, and I'm a little bit, just a little bit nervous because I've never filmed myself doing this before, and because I've never really filmed much of a video like this before, so it's a little bit strange talking just to myself. But I'm gonna go on and pour, well, no, it accelerates, so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna go on and get my colors here. Now I think this one does have a little bit more in it maybe, so I'll make this one white. I know I'm kind of all over the place, so sorry about that. But I'm going to put my titanium dioxide in here. And a lot of people will actually mix up their titanium dioxide with water or oil, depending on which type of titanium dioxide that they have. I don't do that because, because I'm terrible at preparation, and I'm not very patient either. So I prefer to do it this way. I don't know, I may get yelled at for that, but that's okay. That's how I do it, and it works out for me just fine. So, and next I'm going to add a little bit of green vibrance. Actually, let me move this out of the way so you can see a little bit better. I'm going to put some green vibrance and some alpine green mica, and this is too small for my little spoon to fit into, so I'm just going to dump some in there. So this is what I have here. I definitely need to get a better camera or not a better camera, a better tripod if I'm going to be doing this very often. And then I will make this one the red. This red vibrance mica goes really far. Don't need very much. It's very, well, it's very vibrant, very pigmented, and it can and will bleed if you allow it to. So because this fragrance accelerates, I'm going to do it last, but I am going to mix up my colors now, and again I will speed this up just because this thing is so noisy. Wipe off my spatula a little bit. Now I'm going to add this fragrance oil, and it says it discolors and accelerates, so it's going to make it, supposedly will make my batter thick faster, and it will discolor to a dark brown, and that may or may not happen relatively quickly. I have had fragrances that say that they discolor and then they don't actually discolor until well into the curing process, which for anyone that's new to soaping, That's basically just where after you've cut the soap, it's where you let it sit. The typical cure time is 4 to 6 weeks for cold processed soap, some even longer. But I've had fragrances not discolor until halfway in or almost towards the very end of the curing process. So it may or may not be that dark later when I go to cut this. And I'm not seeing any. Oh yeah, it is thickening up quite a bit. It's starting to goop a little bit. So let me go on and get this started. This is the mold that I use. Do not pay attention to the line marks over here. Because I made those a long time ago when I very first got this mold and I didn't know what I was doing. And it does not line up with where I make my cuts does not line up with these whatsoever. Let me see if I can find something to prop you up on really quickly so that you can see down into this thing a little bit better. Okay, that's a little bit better. I'll probably cut all of that out so you won't even see me really do all that adjusting that I just did. But hopefully, and you still can't see entirely into the mold, but that's okay for this one because I'm basically just doing a very basic drop swirl. But I'm going to start off with my white here. And I'll pick up the camera when I'm done and kind of go over it. I was thinking that I would do a high top with this or tall soap, but I don't think that my batter is going to be thick enough. At least not all of it. So I'm going to have a little bit of excess that I'm going to make a small bar for myself. So sometimes if I have leftover batter, like if my batter is very thin and I didn't do a high top the way that I expected to, I will make sample size bars, but sometimes I keep them for myself. So here we go. I guess I could pour it this way. So a little bit of white on the bottom. And then this is my natural fragrance over here, and it's very thick. It's almost like pudding at this point. Has set up quite a bit. My dogs are barking, so my father-in-law is probably here. Okay, then I'm going to pour in my red. I'm just kind of pouring randomly. Because I'm pouring such thin batter, I generally don't pour in a very specific manner because a lot of it will swirl itself together just because of how thin it is. And this green has actually thickened up a little bit too, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. Now I'm going to go back in with a little bit of white. I want to save some white and red and green for the top. And I don't want any of that brown on the top. And that's the this natural color right here. It's a little bit orangey yellowy right now, which is fine, but I don't want any of this on the top if I can avoid it. Pouring high so that it will hopefully kind of sink down in there. Some of it is sitting on the top, and that's fine. Oh, I'm pouring all over the place because I'm pouring with my opposite hand. I'm not a very clean soaper. I tend to get little dribbles and stuff like that all over the place. That's why I bought this table, because I was doing all of my soaping on my kitchen table and I was driving my husband crazy. So I went out and bought this big stainless steel table so that I could get out of doing it in the kitchen and not drive him so nuts. Which is fine because I don't mind having some peace and quiet back here. Okay, so now I'm going to attempt, I say attempt because I don't know. Ooh, y'all see this? See, this is what happens when I get nervous and when I'm not paying very much attention. I'm just flinging stuff and nearly knocking stuff over. Anyway, what I'm going to attempt to do now is pour this white on top with some red and some green in it. And actually what I'm going to do for the very top, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to do an in the pot swirl for the very top. It's basically where I'm pouring all my colors into one container and kind of swirling it just a little and then letting it do as it will. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm actually making this for an event that I have in December in a couple of weeks. I didn't make very many Christmas specific soaps. I was advised against it by some people that have done events near Christmas and near other holidays in the past, and they say that it's just not a good idea, especially being that close to the holiday itself. People have already bought all of their holiday stuff, but I wanted a Christmassy soap, so even if it doesn't sell very well, I'm okay with that, because that means I'll have a gorgeous soap all to myself. Ha ha ha. Okay, I'm going to, this is what I've got going on right now. I don't know how well you can see, but it's the white, the green, and the red all mixed together. I'm just going to take my spatula and make 1, 2 passes in there. Let me set this down there. And then I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to kind of pour the batter on top of the spatula to break the fall, because I don't want to disturb this bottom layer. I could let this sit and set up a little bit more, but like I said before, I'm impatient. I don't really want to wait, and also because this batter in the bowl has titanium dioxide in it, which tends to speed up acceleration itself, so I don't want to wait and risk having it thicken up too much so that I can't pour it. This is going much better than I expected. And I'm not going to disturb it too much now so that I don't risk muddying up the colors. There's a lot of red in there. I was hoping some of that green would come through, but that's okay. Now I've got a little mold over here to the side that I'm just going to pour the rest of this soap batter into, or a lot of it into, because apparently I had too much and I just overfilled it, and that's great. Good job, Erin. Let me see what I can do here. Do I want to add a little bit more? I don't think I do. No, I don't think I do. Okay, the rest of this is going to go into this extra silicone liner that I have over here. Just because I hate to waste soap batter. Even though this is a very ugly color now that I've muddied it all together. But I can always chop this up and use it in a confetti soap. So that's probably what's gonna happen. Okay, this is the soap that I just made that is going to be called Carol of the Bells. Let's do a close-up here. It's not the prettiest soap that I've ever made, at least on the top, and my table's a little bit uneven, so the batter's kind of slipping this way a little bit. When I put it in the cabinet where I cure my soaps, it will even out. But it's got the red and the green and the white swirled on top. So it'll be a little bit interesting. I think I'm going to leave it the way that it is. I don't want to muddy it, so I don't want to take a toothpick or a chopstick or anything like that through it to swirl that top anymore, because it's already pretty swirled and I don't want to ruin that. But I have a feeling the inside's going to be nice, even with the part that's going to turn brown. I think it's going to be really nice. So I will bring you all back tomorrow. Or actually, it may be later tonight. Some of these soaps, because they use such a steep water discount, I add sodium lactate to my soaps, which helps them harden a little bit faster so I can take them out of the mold and cut them sooner. So I will bring you all back in anywhere between 8 and 24 hours to cut this soap, and we will see what the inside looks like.